So Miss Misty, Cogdill, is that how you pronounce your last name?
Yes, Cogdill, Cogdill.
Okay. So your website is Handwriting-Soul Academy, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
All right. And so tell us a little bit about yourself, Miss Misty, and what you do.
Yeah, so my name is Misty Cogdill, and I'm a handwriting expert. I've been studying handwriting for almost 10 years now, and my journey began back, I want to say actually before I was born, because my mom wanted to change her handwriting. So I always think I came in to teach her about handwriting, but that's just kind of an inside joke with the family. But I actually had experienced, I got married at age 22, and I had experienced a big shift in my personality and the way I experienced life. I was always very extrovert, bubbly, happy, like just love life. And then when my last name changed and it went from Misty Cogdill to Misty Cook, I had became very kind of introvert, started analyzing everything, and started to kind of withdraw from people. All of a sudden I was super sensitive, and there was just a different experience with life. And I was like, what happened? You know, I was having this different experience, and I was like, man, I like the way I used to be. You know, I was bubbly and happy and extrovert, and I didn't analyze everything. And, you know, I was like, what caused this change in me to experience life in this new way? And I didn't have any answers. You know, I was just left in the dark for 5 years. So can you imagine 5 years of like trying to figure out like what happened? I don't understand. I made a left turn and I should have made a right turn in life. And I was like, how do I go back and fix it? And like, how do I get that part of me back? And I was like, I didn't know. And when I got my maiden name back, I got my old personality back. All of a sudden, it takes a little while, because it takes about 3 months for the neurological patterns in your brain to shift. And if you're not paying attention and you don't know this and you're not educated and looking for it, you're just going to bumble along and eventually figure out, hey, I'm different again. You know, so about a year goes by, and then I was my old self again. And I was like, man, like, I got to figure this out. Like, what happened? You know, so then I eventually put the pieces of the puzzle together and figured out it was handwriting. You know, and the way I was signing my new last name versus, you know, going back to my maiden name, and just that signature change had a dramatic effect on my experience in life. And then as I continued to learn, I started to, you know, understand the generational patterns that I took on from my family once I became Cogdill again. And I used to have loops in my T. So with my name being Misty, I would do the T and I would have a loop in it and then do the crossbar. Well, my grandma, Betty, did the same thing with her letter T's, and she was abused as a child. So her abuse actually showed up in her handwriting. And then as you know, grandchild, I was around her quite a bit growing up. And so I took on her generational patterns. So I started doing the same thing, but I wasn't abused like she was. But I was not experiencing positive experiences from that. And so once I started to change and remove the limits, especially the way that I wrote my letter T, you know, certain experiences that were negative just kind of fell away. You know, sometimes people are like, man, why me? Or you have this cloud over your head, and it's like, well, it is you. Look at your handwriting. You're energetically attracting it to you. And so I was like, you know, when I changed all of that, over time, and I stayed consistent with it, it's like I got to experience life in like this amazing way. And I was like, oh, this is a lot better than what it was before. And so I started to notice the cause and effect. I'm always noticing the cause and effect with everything in life. And, you know, it was just, I just lit up, you know, all of a sudden I was like, I didn't get a rule book to marriage, and I didn't get, you know, nobody gave me this rule book to handwriting. So I was like, I need to create one, and I need to, you know, so I started finding other mentors. I studied several people, and just started doing my own experiments. You know, I'm very experimental by nature. I'm like, oh, well, let's try this and see what happens. And whoops, that didn't work out. Let's try this. Oh, this worked out great. and I've been doing that for 9 years, and I'm like, I got to share this with the world and have people open up and learn that, they can change their life by changing their handwriting.
Wow, how profound. Well, that was one of my biggest questions that I had written down was, and my wife as well, because she was like, I want to know, how did she learn the craft? I mean, where did she learn this? I mean,
Yeah.
and so that, like one of the biggest questions I had was like, how did you learn this? I mean, did you just read a book and figure this out? And sounds like you did a little bit of the mentor game, but a lot of figuring it out on your own.
Yeah, like I said, I've had other mentors and I've studied a lot of different people, and then just kind of putting pieces of the puzzle together and kind of testing what I learned. And, it's like I wanted to know this like on a deep, deep level so that I can teach it. I always wanted to be a teacher, but I was like, well, how do you become a teacher? And like, what does that look like? And,
Right.
through the process of just letting go and trusting, I've just been guided intuitively to figure it all out, and it's been going very well so far.
Wow, that's amazing. So I got to thank Mr. Titus, give him a shout out for recommending you to be on the podcast. I mean, I was talking to him the other day and he was on the podcast with me and he was like, man, you got to get this lady on your podcast, Mike. I'm telling you, man, you got to get this lady. I'm like, great, shoot her my way. I'd love to, man. I love to get great content myself. I mean, it's like a free coaching lesson right here. I'm like, tell me more. But also for our listeners, whether it's, on the Zoom side or all the podcast side. And for me, that's what I do. I've been a paramedic for 26 years. And so I tell people my business is being saving lives and then saving lives through education. I have actually taught for American Heart Association for 25 years. And I have my own business doing medical.
That's awesome.
And so I always train at a lot of different facilities, hospitals, and things like that. And what I found through my classes through the years is that I had continually students coming up and going, Mike, this is one of the best classes I ever had. You're a great teacher. And I was like, man, that's such a great compliment. And they'd go, no, listen, you really motivated me today. I mean, like I got motivation in your class. I'm like, well, that's great. And they're like, and you inspired me. And you talked about faith. And Mike, I've never had a class like this. And I'm like, maybe I'm on to something. And so I just kept teaching that way, and more people coming to me and left and right facilities. And at Children's, I was there doing a contract with one of the upper echelons there. And she said, Mike, one of the things I want to say to you is that I just love your transparency. I can just see this and I love it. And I'm like, wow, what a great compliment. And so for me, I kind of went through that phase of teaching and building my business and all that, but I still felt like there was more out there. And so I kept asking God, where are you taking me? Where, I'm your servant. What do you want me to do? And I was really asking him, do you want me to go into ministry? And of course, the wrong thing that I did was that I asked him a question, but then I gave him an answer. I said, you want me to go into ministry? I will do it, but I'm not going to seminary. So of course, he just left me with that 5-year period. What you were talking about? Yeah, about 3 to 5 of, well, I'm not going to answer you then. And then all of a sudden he just came down and said, Mike, I want you to be a life coach. You need to be out there speaking and engaging. You've been listening to Zig Ziglar since you were 16 years old, and you've said it 25 years ago. If I could be Zig Ziglar on stage motivating somebody someday, that's what I'd do. And I was just like, wow, I did say that. And so that's kind of where I'm at. I still have my medical educational training business, but I started a podcast back in, I guess it was February of this year. And so life coaching and started to do some speaking more and more. I've done some speaking events here and there, but more and more. So that's kind of where my deal is. So definitely intriguing to see this side of handwriting that's also going here, because we talk so much in life coaching and motivation, how your thoughts, of course, move my actions, right? I mean, they move my emotions, and my emotions move my actions. And so my thoughts, now I'm going one step further back going, wait a second, now my handwriting, okay, wait, now this ties in too. So, wow, very intriguing, Misty, no doubt about it. So your mission statement, I wanted to read that to folks so that they could hear this. And it says to empower people to clear generational patterns, which you talked about, so they can move into their authentic self and live a life by their own design. And I just think that's awesome. That is awesome. And of course, you do that through coaching and seminars and speaking as well, right?
Yeah, I'm being trained now as a keynote speaker. I just signed a contract with a company, and they want to go to all 50 states. And we're going to be doing keynote speaking. I'll be able to sell my program from stage, as well as I'll be meeting with the founder of Make-A-Wish Foundation next week. I just published, or my book is in the process of being published. We just actually sent it off to Jack Canfield because his assistant saw me on LinkedIn and was like, hey, I think Jack wants to know about this. And I was like, Jack Canfield? And I was like, that's really cool.
Yeah.
So that's super exciting coming up. As well as I'm in the middle of redoing my, I'm working with a professional who's good at that. So we're going to critique it to make it better so that I can have a story that's crafted that can land in the audience in the most profound way, instead of the way I was doing it's great, but it's like you can always improve, right? So
Sure, absolutely. So what's the name of your book going to be?
so it's You Can Heal Your Life with Handwriting.
You Can Heal Your Life
It
with...
should be out hopefully by the end of this month.
Awesome. Yeah, and I saw that on Facebook where you're going to be on stage next week with Mr. Frank, founder
Yes.
of Make-A-Wish. That's such a cool thing, right? And then you were just on stage the other day doing what, Million Cups? You were doing a presentation for a group called Million Cups. Is that correct?
Yep, I did 1 million cups, and they wanted, I shared my story, which most of my story is, most of my life I've talked about handwriting because my mom wanted to change her handwriting. Her handwriting was really tiny and pointy, and then mine turned out to be really big and bubbly. And I was always like, well, Mom, who cares? Like, that's no big deal. Like, it's handwriting, right? And I was like, there's nothing to it. And then I learned what I learned, and I experienced what I experienced, and I was like, oh, now I know.
Right.
So tiny and T is really intellectual. So you're coming more from the mindset and able to analyze things. And then really big and bubbly is really coming from your heart and expressing more from your heart. So you express in two different ways based on how you write. And then I actually share with people too, I've worked with some military men and women who wrote in all capital letters. And I know in the military, you're forced to write in all capital letters. And that's actually putting walls up around your heart, and it's keeping everybody at like an arm's length.
Wow.
And so PTSD can get stuck actually if you continue to write in that way when you come back. And so what I've worked with the military men, some of them, and they were shifting their handwriting, and they didn't know, what was going to open up, because we never do. I just always know, there's going to be something that opens up, and it's going to be a wonderful gift, and for him, he was like, there was nothing wrong with my marriage before, but wow, it just like blossomed to this whole next level. And then he said his 3-year-old son became really cuddly. And, so it was a really great story to hear everything that opened up for him. His sales improved dramatically because he was able to connect more with his clients and his customers, and sales. So it's like everything opened up, and he's like, I had no idea, stop writing in capital letters would shift like that. And so I always say people who have PTSD, I would love to find them and reach out to them and say, hey, let's work on your handwriting, and let's work through the PTSD so that you don't have to suffer anymore.
Right. Well, as a paramedic doing paperwork, I've always had to do paperwork, and I will tell you, it's just recently that I started writing lowercase. I mean, I'm looking down at my page here with some I's that have dots on them, but I can tell you most all of my E's, all of my R's, all my F's, everything I look on this page, a lot of it is capital letters. That's what we were taught to write. Everything was in caps, and so there was no dots, or there was no small t where it was across the middle. And so that's definitely something I see with my writing there. So you've got definitely some coaching on your page. I saw that, different coaching. Can you explain some of those different packages that you have?
Yeah, so the silver package is 1 hour analysis, which I always go over because I just have so much to share with people. But we go over kind of like your name, and then we go over a 1-page sample of your handwriting. I'm able to analyze both your signature and the 1 page and kind of give you tips and kind of share with you what I see, what you can work on and different stuff like that. And then the next package I typically recommend is the gold package, where I have a teachable program that's online, and you get, there's 13 videos that you get to watch, but then we have the private Facebook group where We do weekly Zoom calls every week so that we get to check in. You upload your handwriting. You have to upload a page sample of your handwriting every day during the week, Monday through Friday. And then I give you tips on what I see. And then, you know, there's certain letters that you need to work on each week until you go through the whole thing. And then the other part of my program is the process of is answering questions or asking questions. And it's weeks 9 through 12, which the mindset's the process of asking and searching for answers to questions. So a lot of times we were taught affirmations. You're supposed to go and say, well, I am rich. And then your brain says, yeah, right. And then it's like, well, you need to dominate and you need to say it 100 times, right? Over and over and over. Well, if you ask a question, it goes directly to the subconscious mind. And if you think of children, when you go back to when you were 3 or 4 years old, children are asking questions all the time, like who, what, when, where, why, and how, 500 times a day to mom and dad, to the point where they drive them nuts. You know, you're like, what's that? Oh, it's a tree. What's that? Oh, it's a bird. You know, and you're answering all these questions, but nobody ever teaches them how, because that's actually how the brain is wired. So I teach in my classes, you know, that I'm like, when you wake up in the morning, you're like, what am I going to wear today? You know, what am I hungry for? If you drop a pen on the floor and you can't find it, you're automatically thinking, you know, where did my pen go? You know, so when you start to notice these questions that come out in your mindset automatically all day long without even knowing it, you can actually do reverse psychology and start asking questions that will lead to positive, successful results. You know, and I was in real estate for 8 years, and I did the process of questioning, and I would write like 10 questions a day, and then I would see how things would show up in real estate that day. If it was a good day and I sold a house, I put a star at the top of the page, and I was like, okay, this is a good day. These are good questions. And then if I didn't, I was like, okay, well, we can, you know, move on to some more. So I was always experimenting with this. And then all of those starred pages, I put them all in a document. And I was like, okay, these are really profound questions to ask. And then I have that in my programs, week 9 through 12, of like, hey, this is 8 years of research that I've done that that's been documented. So I've got this all uploaded. We go over financial, relational, emotional, you know, physical, and, you know, spiritual, all those different types of questions, and cover that in the last 4 weeks of the program.
Wow. That's amazing. That is amazing.
Yeah, so I have you write the questions in the most beneficial way of writing, plus writing the questions, and it just launches people. And I have a testimonial that'll be coming out in a couple days. My one client went from 8 million, which he was already very successful, but he went from 8 million to 12 million in revenue in 3 months. And he's like, you know how long it took me to get to 8 million? He goes, I went to 12 million in 3 months. He's like, this stuff is awesome.
Right. Yeah, that's amazing. So there's one thing on your page I saw. It's like 197 for a handwriting analysis. So explain what that guy is.
Yeah, so that's the silver package that I just spoke about. That's the first step, where we go over everything for an hour. And then the gold package is kind of the 12-week program, but you get lifetime access to the private Facebook group. And then I have a third package, which is doing the platinum package. That one's 10,000, because I'm also a Bob Proctor coach with Thinking into Results. So I kind of have that program paid for. So then that's part of what you're doing, as well as everything in the gold package and the silver package. And then we take it another step further, where we work with your life script. We'll actually spend time on a Zoom call, a couple Zoom calls, creating a life script for you in a course of like 5 minutes. And then it'll be recorded on CDs that will be behind tones. And then you'll have subliminal messages on your life script that you'll work with, that'll be part of the package. And then we work with your left hand and kind of accessing your inner child work. And then we do timeline therapy. So we kind of take each year of your life from 0 to, you know, whatever age you are now, and we work with each year of your life, and we kind of do timeline therapy. So there's a whole nother level with the platinum package that is super fun as well.
Above and beyond, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Taking handwriting to another level with your left hand is another big opening.
Amazing, amazing. So I'm interested. I got to know what happened. Why are you in the RV? I mean, I saw the post on your Facebook because I was kind of stalking you for a second. I was like, okay, she's going to be on the page. What is this lady about? Look at all this great stuff. And I'm like, whoa, RV? Wait, for a year? Oh, come on, this is awesome. So what is this? Just a freedom venture thing? What's going on here? On trip for a
Yeah,
year?
so I had a friend do it back in 2013, and I was like, oh my gosh, that sounds like fun. I want to do it. But she had just gotten married and did it with her husband. So I was like, okay, well, when I get remarried again, I'm gonna, do it with my husband. And I just kept growing and growing and growing. And it was like, I decided to move to California. And when I moved to California for a year, I was like, you know what, why don't I just go out and do the RV thing? I've always wanted to do it. And I'm like, I'm just going to do it by myself and have fun and show myself what I'm made of and allow myself to be guided. Because the M, one thing that I didn't share is each letter has a certain pattern with it, and it has a certain trait. And everybody, when they're born, then the next thing that happens is you're given a name, right? Like everybody has a name. And actually, right. Michael is actually the most powerful male name on the planet. And then Elizabeth is actually the most powerful female name on the planet. So, but anyways, the moment you're born, you're given a name, and then you do an energy exchange with your parents because they become the example of the energy of your name, and then you learn from them. So with being Misty, the M is all about letting go of control and allowing divine grace to work through you. So I took on all of my mom's control issues. So yeah. So basically, as I grew up, I worked through all of the control issues that I took on kind of from my mom. As I started to write it, once you write it and you master it, then it becomes your greatest gift to humanity. So
wow.
Yeah, the M is all about letting go of control, allowing yourself to be guided, and that's exactly what I'm doing in the RV. Is I'm letting go of control and I'm allowing things to just kind of, I'm trusting and knowing that things are all going to work out, and I'm being guided and led to these next steps, and everything has been working out perfectly. And I'm like, wow, so this is what it's like just to let go of control and allow yourself to be guided.
Yeah. And so did you sell everything and buy an RV and go on the road?
So I sold my condo in Minnesota in the beginning of 2019, moved out to California. And then when I decided to do the RV thing, I just put everything in storage. And I've been talking and following different RV camp, like, oh, sell all of your stuff because you're going to get all new once you're done anyways.
Right.
So I'm like, well, it's all in storage and it's there for now. And I'm going to be traveling for the next year, having fun, going to all these different events that we're going to be doing, and looking forward to just experiencing life. My marketing manager is actually in Colorado Springs, and she wanted to come with me. So I'm like, all right, sounds fun. Then we can tag team together and figure stuff out together. So
yeah. That's amazing. That's amazing. Well, I had an RV back in the day myself, and it was a lot of fun. I took it everywhere, even going down to the lake or something. I just loved having it and being able to take off. And it is definitely freedom to be able to take your house on wheels. And so for you to be able to run out and explore and go different places, do you have certain areas on the spot, or are you just, of course, going to be going wherever you're speaking next?
So I signed a contract with Kirsten Dunn, who's a keynote speaker, and she's actually going around to all 50 states. So I'm going, we're leaving on September 13th. We're going to Dallas, Texas, meeting up with her, and then we're going to Atlanta, Georgia for our first event, September 28th. And then we're going to Nashville, Tennessee in October for our second event. And then I think we're going to go all along the East Coast is what I'm guessing the next steps are going to be after that.
Awesome. And Mr. Titus is going to be there with you as well. Is that?
Yes. Yeah. Titus is, he signed a contract with Kirsten Dunn as well. And so I'm excited to be able to work with him as well on the journey.
Awesome. Well, some amazing stuff here. Some information that's kind of blown me away. Very profound information. God bless you for learning this craft and then sharing it with others. You know, I always say, as you said, you wanted to be a teacher and you really didn't know how. God does that though, right? He just gives that to us and says, this is what I want you to
Yep.
do. And this is how you're going to impact others. And this is value that you're going to create in other people. And so this is the purpose. And so such an amazing thing there. Of course, being able to do all those sides like you're doing with coaching and tying handwriting together. That's just such an amazing talent there. So congratulations on that. I wish you
Thank
well as
you.
far as the speaking goes. I know that's going to be great as well. Some folks out there are going to be impacted. I think that is going to be great with Titus and Kirsten. Kirsten is amazing as well. We met her down in San Antonio at the Sticker Shock Speaking Academy. So she's
Oh yeah.
amazing. She's an amazing lady. So all that, man, it looks like you've got some bright days ahead of you, no doubt. No doubt. And
Thank you.
so
Thank you.
wish you all the best of luck and just want to thank you so much for being on our show today and providing some amazing content for us. I'm pretty sure my wife is definitely going to be looking at the silver package because she was already saying that. What is that? What is that? What is that? Look at that. I'm like, okay. Okay. So we'll, yeah. So looks like we'll probably be reaching out for some information there as well. But just wanted to thank you for being on the show with us today and appreciate your content and just appreciate you, no doubt about it, and giving back
Thank
to
you.
everybody. So, Miss
Thank
Misty,
you.
is there one thing, last thing is I always like to have our guests leave something with our listeners out there. So what's the one thing that you'd leave for our listeners today in kind of closing thoughts?
Yeah, well, actually, I'd love to leave two.
Yes,
I,
please. Yes, please.
I always say for everybody, always, no matter what, anytime I read any signature, if you do any loops in your T and you do the crossbar through it, please don't do that. Draw it straight up as tall as the page will let you, as tall as the line will go. Cross all your T's on top. Gandhi, Mother Teresa, Albert Einstein, like all those great leaders, Abraham Lincoln, they all crossed all their T's on top no matter what. It's the letter of the visionary, and it as you look 50 miles ahead and make decisions, it'll help you make better decisions in life. So it is my favorite letter in the alphabet. My mom's name is Teresa, so I was like, she had the T as well, but it's gonna support you with all your decision making in life.
Yeah.
And then my second tip I always want to say is with questions. I love the question, what is God's vision of itself as my life? So then I follow God's plan instead of my own plan, and then I'm always guided in the best way possible.
Amen. Amen. Well, that brings me to one of the last things that I always like to say, and with that one goes back to a Zig Ziglar quote, and it's, I can have everything I want in life if I just help enough other people get what they want. And so
I
that being
love that one.
oh yeah, Zig of course has got so many quotes, and Jim Rohn and all those guys. I grew up with those guys, and some of my favorites, and that's just my favorite one. It's on my coffee cup, and I tell that to every day, to people. Remember, you can have everything you want in life if you just help enough other people get what they want, and not be that self-centered person. Be others-centered. God will give you everything you ever need, no doubt about it. Right? Yeah.
Yep.
Well, Miss Misty,
Exactly. I agree.
thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good luck. I wish you so much success. I know your biggest days are yet to come, and the adventure of a lifetime. Enjoy it.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right. Have a blessed day, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks. You too.
All righty. Bye-bye.